the story, everyone? Welcome back to GA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I hope the form is good. I hope the form is well. The All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship commences this weekend. The Provincial Championships start this weekend. The round robin starts this weekend in both Munster and Leinster. And here we go then. Another year to predict the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. And I suppose for many of you guys who are subscribed to the channel, you know by now I do plenty of predictions videos on this channel. Just a week ago, we predicted the entirety of the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship, which in the space of about 2 days basically backfired entirely on me. So yeah, we'll see how long it takes before this one completely goes against me, because to be honest, there's some tough predictions in here. I think the overall winner, I think we can guess who I'm going to predict. It's definitely going to be Dublin.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But nonetheless, we're going to predict the entirety of the championship. We're going to be looking at who's going to win the Leinster Senior Hurling Championship, who's going to win the Munster Senior Hurling Championship. We're going to predict the Joe McDonagh Cup, the Christie Ring and the Laurie Marr, even though I have no idea what the hell is going to go on there, to be honest. But we're going to predict them anyways for the crack. And of course, we will predict who will win the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship and who will be the beaten finalists, the semi-finalists, etc, etc. Much like the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship predictions I did a week ago. We didn't really have to do a mock draw for this, but there is a draw that comes based off my predictions, and we'll try and explain that the best we can do. So yeah, if you enjoy this content around here, hit the like button and subscribe. As I always say during these videos, it is just my opinion. I am a Dublin fan. It goes without saying, I'm definitely more of a football man than a hurling man. And I am excited to see how Micheál Donoghue gets on for Dublin this year and everything else. So it is just my opinion, but if you do disagree, let me know in the comments down below. And if you disagree, let me know why you disagree and who you actually, would have instead of me in terms of one of these predictions. But anyway, let's go. So I suppose firstly, let's remind ourselves of, well, how the Leinster Hurling Championship and the Munster Hurling Championship actually look. So in the Leinster Senior Hurling Championship, we will have Antrim, Dublin, Galway, Kilkenny, Westmeath and Wexford. And in the Munster Hurling Championship, we will have Clare, Cork, Limerick, Tipperary and Waterford. In both provincial championships, it's the top two to qualify for the provincial final. The winners of those provincial finals go straight through to the All-Ireland semi-finals. The losers go into the quarter-finals, whereas the third place teams in either of these provincial championships will go into a preliminary round. They'll actually play the, I believe it's the Leinster side who finished third, will play the winners of the Joe McDonagh, whereas the third place team in Munster will play the losers of the Joe McDonagh. The winner of that then goes into the quarterfinals and will play one of the beaten provincial finalists. It can't be the same side that they would have already played in their provincial. So say, for example, if it's Dublin that finished third and it's Clare that got beaten in the Munster final, it would actually be Dublin, should they get through their preliminary round, would play Clare. Hopefully that kind of clears things up, because I know sometimes people ask me, how exactly is the Hurling Championship structured? In fairness, I actually think the Hurling Championship, its structure is perfect, and it's been the same now for a couple of years, in fairness, albeit COVID kind of derailed it, but generally speaking, it's been the same kind of format for the last couple of years. So that's how it works, and just reminding ourselves of who's in the Joe McDonagh Cup. So we've Carlow, Kerry, Offaly, Laois Down and Kildare. We'll predict that a little bit later as well. But I suppose firstly, let's look at the Munster Senior Hurling Championship, because oh my goodness me, this is going to be insane. I do predict Limerick to finish first. I think that goes without saying. We will get onto them a little bit later, and I don't think it will exactly be free-flowing for Limerick. I don't think they'll just automatically finish in first. Like the Munster round robin, in fairness, has actually been often where Limerick haven't won games. Like they failed to beat Clare in one of their games there last year. And because there's at times not as much jeopardy and maybe you can afford to lose one game, that's sometimes where we see Limerick slip up. But we will get onto them a little bit later. I do think they'll finish in first, and I do think it'll be comfortable enough. But as I said, we will explain that a little bit later. So looking at the other four sides of Waterford, Tipperary, Clare and Cork, I mean, to be honest with you, you actually feel sorry for two of these sides that are going to miss out in the Munster Championship. I mean, I think it goes without saying that the Munster Championship is by way and a far above the level of the Leinster Hurling Championship. I think, in fact, the team that finishes fifth in the Munster round robin this year, I think if you put them into Leinster, they'd probably make a provincial final, and at best finish in third. They're better than Dublin or Wexford, who are likely to be the two sides competing for third, in my opinion. So I think the level of the Munster round robin is quite ahead. There has been an opinion that maybe you should change the provincial championships to sort of, because it's maybe a little bit unfair. But I think at the same time, that's just how it is. And You know, if you were to do a power rankings of the best teams in the All-Ireland Hurling Championship, I think the 5 Munster sides would probably be in the top 7, top 8. The county that I think, though, that will be least likely to get out of the Munster round robin, in my opinion, will be Waterford. Look, as people will have known who've subscribed to this channel, who watch the hurling content on this channel, I'm a big fan of Davy Fitz. I actually wanted him to take the Dublin job, in fairness, and I'm a big admirer of his. I think he did a brilliant job at Wexford winning a Leinster title. I think his work with Clare was absolutely brilliant. But there's a few reasons why I don't think Waterford will get out of this Munster round robin. I think firstly, it's Davy Fitz's first season. You can see his tactics are a little bit different to that of his predecessor in Liam Cahill, and I just think the level in Munster is so high. Like, I don't think Waterford will be a million miles away. I think we could easily see a scenario where we've 3, maybe 4 teams possibly all level on points. I mean, we've often seen that in the Leinster round robin where, you know, there's only a point or two that separates the top 4 sides, and I think it'll be very similar in Munster this year. In Waterford, you do have some sensational hurlers. Austin Gleeson's been flying the flag for years. Desi Hutchinson, I've said, is one of the most skillful hurlers on his day. Stephen Bennett's looked very good. Patrick Fitzgerald has been a new addition to the side, and we'll probably most likely see him play in the under-20s, to be fair. I just think with Davy Fitz, like, I don't know what it is, I just don't think it's clicked yet for Waterford, and it's a tough one because his record in Munster actually isn't that good, Davy Fitz, as a manager. And like, sometimes you look at it and you think some teams are a match for certain managers. I think Liam Cahill was a match for Waterford. I think managers who play full throttle, very expansive attacking style hurling and play on the front foot, I think are suited to this Waterford side. Davy Fitz at times, like, he is a bit more of a pragmatic coach. It's a little bit more cautious, a few sweepers in there, more about trying to stop the opposition rather than play to your strengths, and I just don't think it's quite clicked just yet for Davy Fitz's Waterford. Now, as I said, I think there'll only be, you know, it could possibly go down to score difference, and when you think about it, when you look at Cork and Clare, I think they're more likely to beat a side by 5, 6, 7 points as opposed to Waterford, who I think might nick a few 1 or 2 point victories, and that's, I think, that might just cost them in the end. So that's why I've got them in 5th, but again, like, they won't be a million miles away. The other 3 sides are Cork, Clare and Tipperary, and I mean, it's very, very hard to call. Very, very hard to call. But I think in 4th, I think Tipperary, maybe we'll talk about Tipperary first, because I've got Tipperary in 2nd. And I think the reason being is obviously the Liam Cahill effect, a big admirer of his. I thought he'd done a very, very good job at Waterford. But I think he's taken Tipperary on to the next level. And even in the early stages, you see this Tipperary side are plenty of brilliant hurlers, but also some of the new players in Garrod O'Connor and Conor Bowe, I think, have made a huge addition to this side. You've got mainstays in Jason Ford, Jake Morris. We don't know if Shamie Callanan will start, but what a player to possibly bring off the bench if you're chasing a game or needing to close out a game in the final 10 to 15 minutes. And we've seen the effects that Liam Cahill brought to this Tipperary side in the league as well. You know, getting them to that league semi-final. I think they came much closer to beating Limerick in the league, in that league semi-final, than Kilkenny did in the final. I like what I see for Liam Cahill. I suppose it's kind of similar to what we've seen when he came into Waterford in his first year, when he led Tipperary to an All-Ireland final. And let's not forget as well that Tipperary were All-Ireland champions just 4 years ago in 2019. In the likes of Noel McGrath, they have some sensational hurlers all across the board. And, you know, Tipperary were probably the closest team to actually beating Limerick in this spell of 3 consecutive All-Irelands, and that was in that Munster final when they blew them away in the first half. They completely fell off the gate in the second half, and you have to commend Limerick for that. But I think this Tipperary side, they have a lot of very, very good players, and that's why I've got them in 2nd. I think they'll pip Clare and Cork. Again, I don't think it will be by much, but Tipperary for me will go in to the Munster final. And between Clare and Cork, it's a very, very hard one to call, in all honesty. I think all of this is very, very hard to call, but I'm going to back Clare by the smallest of margins, and I think the main reason being is, I think under Brian Lohan with Clare, you've seen what they brought to the table last year, the explosiveness that they brought, how good they were at times. Like, when you look at their starting 15, I think they, in terms of their starting 15, maybe alongside Kilkenny, I think they're the closest to Limerick. Now, I think Limerick's overall package in terms of what options they bring off the bench, their management, their you know, the likes of Paul Connacht on there, and the fact that Limerick can change the gears, whereas Clare need to be at their best to probably win games every time, in fairness. But in the likes of Tony Kelly, we know, who is one of the best hurlers in the country, if not the best on his day. Aidan McCarthy's obviously now back in the side, which is great to see. You've got new players coming into the side like Mark Rogers, who I suppose is not new. Like he's been on the panel for a couple of years, but he's been in and out of the side with injuries. I think we've seen him Fitzgibbon Cup level shoot the lights out, and I think him coming back in and being a mainstay in this side will be key. John Conlon as well, whether he's playing at centre back or in and around the half forward line, can do damage in both positions. So I like the look of Clare. You've got Peter Duggan, Cathal Malone as well. Their sum is very, very strong, and when they're on it, they're a very, very hard team to beat, as Limerick experienced a couple of years ago. And look, they could very well pip Tipperary and get back to another Munster final. I just think there might be a bit of inconsistency in the round robin, and I just fancy Tipperary to beat them when they play each other in a couple of weeks' time. But I think Clare will just about edge it, and the reason why I don't think Cork will get there, I think, is because it is the first season under Pat Ryan. There is a bit of inconsistency for Cork, and you just never know when Cork are going to produce a flat performance. I mean, if you think back to the Munster round robin last year, they were very slow to get going, and then they turned it on. They looked brilliant, and even when they got beaten by Galway in the All-Ireland quarter-finals, they played very well. And it's a strange one with Cork at times. You just don't know what you're going to get. And I think the problem that Pat Ryan has is the exact same problem that Kieran Kingston had, which is there's so many players in the county, so many players available to them. They've had a huge amount of underage success in the last couple of years. You've got experienced hurlers who've cemented their place in the squad in the last couple of years. And there seems to be a bit of an imbalance. Like, you've got players like Patrick Horgan who've been shooting the lights out for years, but then you've got very good up-and-coming stars like Padraig Power, for example, and then even Shane Kingston, who at times looks like Cork's best hurler on the pitch, and then at times he's not even playing. So it's very, very odd at times with what is going on in Cork. I really like the look of Darragh Fitzgibbon and Tim O'Mahony in midfield at times. Obviously they play at wing back at different times, Tim O'Mahony in particular, but it's a hard one to know at Cork. It really, really is. And look, playing at Páirc Uí Chaoimh is always an advantage, and that may be what might get them over the line, but I don't know what it is. I'm just not entirely convinced with Cork this year, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think there's been a bit of inconsistency there. But yeah, I just fancy Clare to pip it. Another thing that actually just came back to me when thinking about Waterford is they're actually not going to be playing their games in Walsh Park this year either, because of the fact that that's under construction. So I suppose that's another thing that could possibly go against Waterford, although could be argued that actually playing in Semple Stadium and Thurles might actually suit them more. But yeah, that's how I'm going to go with things. Waterford in 5th, Cork in 4th, Clare in 3rd, and Tipperary in 2nd. I know I sort of did that in a weird way, but I just think there's going to be so little between those four sides, and I think Tipperary will edge Clare, but it's going to be so close, to be honest with you. And as I said, I do have Limerick in 1st, and I do think Limerick will beat Tipperary and win the Munster Championship. And look, you don't want to dismiss the other four sides, but I just think Limerick are far too strong. And the thing is with Limerick is, even if they're not at it on any given day, they just have this habit of turning it on, finding an answer. And the fact they won the league the way they did is so worrying for every other county, because like, they weren't even at their best throughout the entirety of the league, and they didn't even have their best team playing week in, week out. Cian Lynch would come on, for the odd couple of games. He started the odd game. Cole Hayes didn't feature in the league final, or didn't start in the league final. You've got new lads coming into the side like Donica O'Dowling, Micheál Houlihan and Shane O'Brien. Like, the motivation levels just aren't dropping for Limerick. And, I look at John Coyley, I look at Paul Conurk on the sideline. They are gunning for Kilkenny's record of 4 in a row, and they are gunning to become, I think they need to win 4 or 5 games to have essentially gone the longest unbeaten in the championship. I think they'll do that, and they just have so many answers. They have so many ways of winning games when they're at it as well, and when they click into gear, they're just absolutely unstoppable. The short flicks, the short hand passes, the blocks in, the energy that they play with. They are a phenomenal side, and I said it before, this Limerick side, mark my words, when it's all said and done, will be the greatest hurling team of all time. I know people say that Kilkenny played in a different era and the game was a lot more amateur back then, and maybe this Limerick side have a lot more professionalism involved, but I think you can say the same about Cork right now. I think you can say the same about a lot of sides all across the country in hurling, and Limerick, they found the advantage. They found the initiative. Like, from 1 to 15, I just don't see how any team this year is going to stop them. And maybe it's a bit of a spoiler alert. I do think they'll win the All-Ireland, and I think, to be fair, I think most people watching this probably would have thought that. I think this year, like last year, at times we seen a bit of jeopardy. And I think at times there might be moments this year where they fall behind, they go 3-4 points down. I think the battle between them and Tipperary is going to be extremely fascinating. Still think Kilkenny are extremely strong as well. But I just think Limerick, like when you look at it, Nicky Quaid, outstanding. I think his puck outs as well go unnoticed. Like, he does an extraordinary job from his puck outs. Defensively, far too strong with the likes of Sean Finn in there. At wing back, you've got Jeremy Burns, Dan Morrissey. Like, they are outstanding. Midfield, William O'Donoghue, Dara O'Donovan. There's no stopping Limerick, in my opinion, and they will be far too strong. I think in the round robin, we might see them lose a game. We might see them draw a game. But I think ultimately they will eventually come out on top, finish in the first position, and win the Munster Championship, because this Limerick side are absolutely immense, and I just don't see anyone stopping them anytime soon. But look, we will predict obviously the rest of the championship. We won't just end it here, the fact that I said Limerick are going to win the All-Ireland, but I think they'll win the Munster Championship. And look, who will they get in the semi-finals? Let's obviously wait and see. But for now, let's predict the Leinster Hurling Championship. So I suppose first of all, we obviously know that I suppose the team that gets relegated, or the team that finishes bottom of the Leinster round robin, is most likely to be the team that gets relegated, unless Kerry somehow win the Joe McDonagh, which, to be honest, would create a mad imbalance in Munster. Imagine Waterford playing in the Joe McDonagh next year. That would be absolutely mental. But anyways, I'm going to go for Westmeath in 6th. I think, yeah, it is what it is. I just think it'll be very tough for them. And I think you see with sides like Westmeath and Antrim, Carlow in the past, maybe Kildare might be the next one. Offaly, like, I don't know what you do about these sides, like, especially in Division 1 of the Hurling League as well. Like, you see the same teams getting promoted and relegated every year and yo-yoing up and down. And I just don't see any different this time around. I know Westmeath, to be fair, were in the Leinster round robin last year, drew with Wexford, and actually pushed Dublin quite well as well, in fairness, and had some good results. But it's hard to keep producing those results, and it's hard to kind of keep spirits up, keep motivation up, and keep sort of players wanting to play when you're getting beaten comprehensively in most weeks. I do think it will be between them and Antrim, but I think Antrim's factor of playing in Corrigan Park is always a big advantage. They play Dublin actually in Corrigan Park in the opening week, which might be a good time to play Dublin, in fairness. But I don't see Antrim really pushing for the top 4 or the top 3 places, and I don't see Westmeath doing it either. If Westmeath are going to do that, and Killian Doyle, Kieran Doyle and Davy Glennon are some of their standout players. Killian Doyle on his day is a sensational hurler, and for Antrim you're looking at the likes of Conal Cunning and Niall McKenna. You've still got Neil McManus there as well, although he has opened up in the past about potential retirement. Could this be his last season potentially, lining out for the Saffrons? But yeah, I'll go with Antrim in 5th, Westmeath in 6th, and unfortunately for Westmeath, I do see them getting relegated. And then we move into Leinster, and like, when you look at it on paper, Kilkenny and Galway should be the top 2, and I think we've said that for the last couple of seasons. Like, when you look at the players that Kilkenny have, the players that Galway have, it should be straightforward. They should be in the Leinster final, and to be fair, the last couple of seasons has resulted in Kilkenny and Galway getting to the Leinster final. But when you actually look at the round robin, and when you actually look at how the table is finished in the last couple of seasons, there's only been 1 or 2 points between them at times, like between these 4 in Wexford, Dublin, Kilkenny and Galway, and score difference has often been involved. Like, and to be fair, I think there mightn't be that much, and like, we might see Kilkenny and Galway slip up. We just might. But I do think when you look at it in the last couple of seasons, it probably will be between Wexford and Dublin for that 3rd position. And obviously maybe I'm a little bit biased for this prediction, being a Dublin fan. And speaking of Dublin, obviously Micheál Donoghue's come in there. We probably didn't get to see us at our best in the league, but where we saving ourselves for the round robin, I'm not entirely sure. It's an interesting one with Dublin, because we are very much at a transition, and I've said it now for a couple of years. We've got, a couple of very, very talented hurlers that have been, coming up from the under-20s in the last couple of seasons, in the likes of Alex Considine, Dara Purcell, Dara Gray. We've seen obviously a few of them look very impressive, in particular Alex Considine for Kilmacud Crokes. There's a lot of very good hurlers coming through Dublin at the minute, but I do look at it at the same time. You've got Danny Sutcliffe very much slowing down, a few other lads slowing down as well. Like, the levels and the that sort of era of Dublin when we won a Leinster title, which was 10 years ago actually this summer, which is incredible to think. We were relying on a lot of those players and piggybacking off that success for a long time. I think it is a different era now, and I think for Micheál Donoghue, like, we want to make that step up. We know Dublin is a huge county. It's got, a huge amount of resources, and obviously football is number one in this county. That goes without saying. But we've got a lot of very good hurlers. Owen O'Donnell on his day of fullback, sensational. Donald Burke, top class hurler. And you see us at club level competing with the very, very best. So I'm hoping that for Dublin this year and for Micheál Donoghue, we can make that step up. We can get out of this round robin, because for back-to-back seasons not getting out of this competition will be very, very disappointing. And when you actually look at the round robin last year, what cost Dublin was not being able to put big scores up on teams. And you're looking at Antrim this weekend. We need to go out, beat them, but also beat them 6, 7, 8 points. And same against Westmeath, because that was what cost us last year. We beat Wexford, let's not forget, in their own backyard last year. And we all thought that was a big, big result for us. And it wasn't in the end. Wexford, on the other hand side, under Dara Egan, it just probably hasn't quite clicked so far for Wexford. They've had some good results and they've had some good performances. And in particular, when they beat Kilkenny in Nolan Park in the final game of the round robin last year, you thought, wow, Dara Egan has Wexford onto something here. Would we have seen Davy Fitz's Wexford beat Kilkenny in Nolan Park? Probably not. I know he did win a Leinster title with them, but to beat them in Nolan Park, that was quite an extraordinary achievement. Yeah, it's an interesting one, because since they won that Leinster title, it's hard to know. I probably don't have a huge amount of knowledge about Wexford hurling to know whether, has things slowed down since 2019? Is the same levels of quality still in that side? They've obviously had a few new lads come in, the likes of Cathal Dunbar, for example. You still have, Lee Chin, who on his day is absolutely fantastic. Kieran McDonald as well. Kevin Foley. But yeah, I don't know what it is about Wexford, but it just hasn't quite clicked. And looking at it, I think it will be between Wexford and Dublin for that third position. And I'm going to go with Dublin. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. Dara Egan's second season, Wexford probably, are they better than us? I don't really know. I think it's a toss of a coin on a day, to be honest. So, do you know what? I'll go with Dublin to finish in third, but yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. And do you know what the thing is, though? Dublin probably have a habit of turning over Galway. We always get beat by Kilkenny. That's a foregone conclusion. Whereas Wexford, to be fair, tend to put in good performances against Kilkenny. So it's a tough one to call. But I'll go with Dublin to finish third, and I'll go with Wexford to finish fourth. I think Dublin play Wexford in Parnell Park as well, so that could be crucial. Actually, we play Wexford in Crow Park, I think, this time around. I think we're moving all our home games to Crow Park. Actually, for Dublin fans watching, I'd be curious to know your opinions in terms of the hurling side going from Parnell Park to Crow Park. I actually think Parnell Park suits us a lot more, and I think it would have given us even more of a chance. I'll still go with us anyway, just for the sake of it. And then the top two, which I do think will be Kilkenny and Galway. Looking at Kilkenny, I think that it might take maybe 1 or 2 games before we see them properly kick into gear. They're obviously waiting on the likes of TJ Reid, Owen Cody to come back into the side. Owen Cody obviously played against Limerick, in fairness, but there was obviously a huge amount of club success with Ballyhale Shamrocks winning the All-Ireland, so they've had to wait to sort of integrate those players back into the side. But in fairness to Kilkenny, and in fairness to Derek Ling, he's introduced new players like Billy Drennan, who's been outrageously good. It'll be interesting to see, does he stay on the frees or does TJ Reid go back on them? That'll be an interesting dynamic. And seeing a Kilkenny side that has both TJ Reid and Billy Drennan, and how you fit Owen Cody, Adrian Mullen, how you fit all the pieces of the puzzle together, will be a headache for Derek Ling, a good headache nonetheless. John Donnelly's always been a player I've been impressed with as well, and I've got Kilkenny in second. I just think there might be a bit of a slight transition there for Derek Ling, and there might maybe be, I don't know, they might just possibly lose the odd game here or there, but I'd fancy Galway. I think there's more on the line for Galway, I think, this year. And it's a big year. It's a big year for Henry Shefflin, his second year in charge. I think it got a team like Galway, the players that they've had, the under-age success that they've had, they should be aspiring to win All-Irelands and to be the closest side to compete with Limerick. And, they're in that bracket of sides that I think are closest to beating Limerick. I think Kilkenny are in that bracket. I think Clare are there. I think Tipperary are there. And I think Galway are very much there as well. And, they still have the experienced lads of Joseph Cooney and Conor Whelan, Daithí Burke in a fullback, but it's obviously the new lads that have come into the side, and we're sort of waiting for Galway to really sort of click into gear and really become what we all believe they can become. And to be fair, last year, Henry Shefflin's Galway, although Kilkenny pushed Limerick very, very close, Galway, to be fair, look like sort of the closer to beating Limerick in Croke Park last year. And Evan Nyland, Brian Concannon, Pádraig Mannion, Tom Monaghan as well have all looked very good. Kevin Cooney, of course, as well. A few new lads that have been introduced this year. It's a big year for Henry Shefflin, and I think Galway will go strong in the round robin, and I think they'll get the wins that they need to in Pearse Stadium at home. So I'll go Galway first, Kilkenny second. And then in terms of the Leinster final, it's a while, isn't it, since Galway actually won a Leinster championship. Unfortunately for Galway fans, I think it's going to be another year without a Leinster championship. I think Kilkenny are going to beat you, because look, obviously it's a one-off prediction, and obviously we'll certainly know a lot more when this game comes around. But I just think by then TJ Reid and Billy Drennan, they'll both be integrated into playing in the same team. Dara Corcoran will probably be back. Mikey Butler in a fullback. I just think Kilkenny from 1 to 15 are an extraordinary side, and I think for Henry Shefflin and for Galway, like they haven't yet recorded a big win in the championship. I know they obviously beat Cork in the quarterfinals last year. I don't think that was a big win, and I just fancy Kilkenny to turn them over. So yeah, I'll go with Kilkenny to win the Leinster Championship. Now, obviously, as we were saying, with how the championship structure works, that means, according to my prediction, Limerick and Kilkenny will go straight into the semi-finals. Tipperary and Galway, who will wait in the quarterfinals to see who obviously comes through the preliminary round, and that will obviously be Dublin, who will be going through from Leinster, and it will be Clare, who are going through from Munster. But let's predict the Joe McDonagh Cup, because obviously, as we very well know, this is linked to the championship, and the top two sides progress to the final. The side that finishes bottom go down to the Christy Ring Cup. And to be honest with you, Joe McDonagh Cup, very competitive this year, and actually, as a matter of fact, the Joe McDonagh Cup has actually started earlier this year for some reason, and one game has already been played at the time of this recording. Now, by the time some of you lads are watching this, there might be 2 games played, depending on when I actually get to upload this. But when we look at the opening round of games in the Joe McDonagh Cup, there were wins for Carlow, Kerry and Offaly. Offaly beating Laois, Kerry beating Down, and Carlow beating Kildare. So what's interesting, at the start of the year, or at the start of the season, I probably would have predicted Carlow to go down, because I think Down have been onto something very strong in the last couple of years, and have shown a huge amount of progression in hurling. Paul Sheehan's a player who I've always seen in match reports to be shooting the lights out down there. But Carlow beat Kildare, and that was an extraordinary result, and I think that will be the springboard for Carlow to possibly push closer to promotion rather than relegation. So I think Down, pardon the pun, will be the ones to go down. Kildare have gotten 5th. Kildare are the newly promoted side. They came up from the Christy Ring last year. Kildare, obviously, as we remember, got to the Division 2A final, and were a win away from actually getting into Division 1. So that defeat to Carlow was a massive setback, and one that not many of us really seen coming. Did they go too strong in the league? I'd be curious to know what Kildare fans, Kildare hurling fans, think in the comments down below. But I do think you'll have enough to avoid relegation. I think you will be sound there. Jack Sheridan's a player I always hear who shoots the lights out there. I've got Carlow in 4th, and in terms of the top 3, Kerry are a side that you just can't rule out. They're always a team that seem to be thereabouts, or get to. I think they've been to 3 Joe McDonagh Cup finals in a row, which has been extraordinary. But unfortunately, I think the Joe McDonagh is a bit too strong this year, so I think they'll miss out. And I've gone for Laois and Offaly. Laois to finish in 2nd, Offaly to finish in 1st. But I am going to go with Laois to win it. I think, although Laois actually lost to Offaly, funnily enough, in the opening day, and Laois actually have a bit of work to do, to be fair, I fancy them to turn things around and win the Joe McDonagh. Now, this is a prediction that could very well back for Laois lose, possibly by the time actually that we're, Laois could have lost 2 games maybe by the time you lads are watching this. But I'll go with Laois. I think they're a bit too strong. Likes of Patrick Purcell, Stephen Picky-Mar, I think they've been playing at a higher level for a long time. So we'll go with Laois to win the Joe McDonagh Cup. And so that would set up a preliminary round game of Laois versus Dublin, and it would be Offaly versus Clare. I suppose, a bit of history between these two when you think of famous games between Offaly and Clare down the years. Although a long time ago now, you'd have to go back to the 90s from, since some of the very famous games when these two were competing for All-Irelands. And then obviously the last time Dublin travelled to Portlaoise in hurling, we got beat, and that was a yeah, that was a very, very bad day for a Dublin fan, in fairness. But I'll give us the edge over Laois. I think we'll be too strong this time around. I think we have beaten Laois, to be fair, the last few times that we have played them. And I think Clare will be way too strong for Offaly as well. But unfortunately in hurling, we very rarely ever see upsets. And I just think that trend will continue. So it will be Clare and Dublin who will progress to the quarterfinals. And as we were saying, it can't be Dublin and Galway in the quarterfinal, and it can't be Clare and Tipperary in the quarterfinals, just because obviously it's a clash. You know, you can't have the same sides from the same province playing each other. So that would set up Galway versus Clare, and that would set up Tipperary versus Dublin. In terms of Dublin versus Tipperary, I think this is where our journey ends, unfortunately, and I think Tipperary will turn us over. This game will probably be in Croke Park as well, you'd imagine. Maybe it might be in Páirc Uí Chaoimh or possibly even Semple Stadium, not entirely sure, but I'll go with Tipperary. I think they're far too strong for us Dubs, unfortunately. And then Clare versus Galway. Do you know what? I'm going to go for Clare, and maybe that might upset the odds a little bit, and maybe Galway fans won't be too happy, but yeah, I just think Clare are a better side. I think from 1 to 15, I think Brian Lohan knows it's starting 15, and I like what I see with Clare. I really, really do. And I think, you know, if my predictions go according the way that they're going, I think Galway losing to Kilkenny in a Leinster final, I just think, you know, that will knock the stuffing out of him. And Henry Shefflin, who knows if he'll still be Galway manager after this, but that's what I'm going with. I think Clare will be Galway. And then in the All-Ireland semi-finals, it will be Limerick versus Clare and Kilkenny versus Tipperary. I fancy Limerick to be Clare. This will be in Croke Park, I think, All-Ireland semi-final. So, you know, it'll be very, very fascinating. What an occasion this will be. Two huge rivals. This will be one of the games of the year, you'd imagine. I think this will be absolutely outstanding. And obviously matchups and everything else, we'll all obviously discuss that if this is a game that eventually happens. But I've already predicted Limerick to win the All-Ireland, so I obviously think they'll beat Clare. Probably by 4 or 5 points as well, in fairness. And then Kilkenny versus Tipperary, maybe a bit of an upset here, but I'll go for Tipperary to turn over Kilkenny. I just like what I see with Tipperary so far, and I think with Liam Cahill and what he's built with this Tipperary side so far, you know, you see them play that full throttle style hurling, and you know, in his first season with Waterford, he got them to a final, and I think his first season in Tipperary, he's going to do it again. And it would be Limerick versus Tipperary in the All-Ireland final. I suppose it would be a new opponent for Limerick to face in an All-Ireland final. And I suppose the interesting thing is you would have some Tipperary players out there on the pitch who, you know, won All-Irelands in the past. And obviously, in fairness, Kilkenny last year did have a few as well. But it'll be a fascinating game, but I think Limerick will just be far too strong. And I think they might end up winning it quite comfortably. Like, I just think with Limerick, they're way too far. They're way too far above everyone else. And, you know, last year you could make a case for certain teams beating Limerick in the final, you know, or a semi-final. You know, for a few years there, people were looking at Cork as the closest side. You know, Kilkenny had that voodoo over beating them in 2019. You know, there was this thing about Galway being the closest to them. Clare were the up-and-coming side. Waterford, you know, are the closest, as Derek McGrath once said. But I just think Limerick overcome every challenge that's thrown at them. And look, the Limerick train won't go on forever. There will come a day where they get beat, much like Dublin. You know, everyone thought when Dublin won 6 in a row, it was going to go on forever. We were going to win 7, 8 and 9. And it didn't happen. You know, you see now with the Dublin footballers, there has been a regression. And the difference I'm seeing, though, with Limerick compared to the Dublin footballers is none of the Limerick players are opting out. A lot of their players are still young. And they're still continuing a huge amount of underage success. You know, getting to an All-Ireland final at under 20 level, for example. So the machine is not slowing down, and that's why I see this Limerick side continuing on that trend. But there will come a moment. There will come a moment where they get caught, but I don't see it happening this year. There's not enough evidence to suggest that they will get beat this year in a championship game, in a knockout championship game, in my opinion. So yeah, I think Limerick will win the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. And like, another thing we're pointing out as well is, as we said, Micheál Houlihan, Donncha O'Dowling, Shane O'Brien, like, these lads mightn't even feature that much for Limerick in the championship, but they just have so many options from 1 to 15, their squad, their panel, their extended panel. So Limerick will win the All-Ireland 4 in a row. Mark my words, it's going to happen. So what we'll run through now is Hurler of the Year, Young Hurler of the Year, Underachievers, Overachievers, and Game of the Year. Why not, for the crack? So Hurler of the Year, I'll go for, it's always a difficult one. It's always a Limerick player. Tends to usually actually be a different Limerick player every year. Cian Lynch coming back in. Could he win it this time around? win it again. I see he's a strong shout, to be fair. Gearóid Hegarty could be a very good shout. Midfield, William O'Donoghue. Do you know what? I'm going to go for Gearóid Hegarty, I think. I think he's a big game player. Always turns up in All-Ireland finals. I think I'm going to go for him. Aaron Gillane, I think, could be very close as well. But going to go for Gearóid Hegarty. And Young Hurler of the Year, I don't think it will be any of the Limerick players, just because I don't think they'll consistently start. I think a shoe-in here probably is Billy Drennan of Kilkenny after the league season that he had. I think Gearóid O'Connor could be a big one for Tipperary as well. But will he start every game? I'm not sure that he will. So we'll go with Billy Drennan of Kilkenny, Young Hurler of the Year. Overachievers, I suppose maybe we should rephrase this as surprise package, just because overachievers probably sounds a little bit disrespectful. Surprise package, I mean, difficult one. I guess Tipperary reaching an All-Ireland final. Are they a surprise package? I mean, they're one of the most successful counties in the history of the sport, and they were All-Ireland champions in 2019, but off the basis of what we've seen from them in the last couple of years, them getting to an All-Ireland final probably would be a surprise. So yeah, I guess we go with them. There's no real other big surprise really, is there, to be fair? As I said, in hurling there isn't huge amount of surprises. Maybe if Dublin were to get to an All-Ireland semi-final, you'd say that would be a surprise. But yeah, we'll go with Tipperary as the surprise to get to an All-Ireland final. I can't imagine there'd be too many others predicting that, in fairness. And underachievers, I've gone for Galway. It's not a huge slight on Galway in terms of they don't have great players, or they don't have a great manager in Henry Shefflin. I just think the way this draw has gone, or the way it's kind of gone for me, the fact that they will play a Munster side, if they do get beat in a provincial final, because the Munster side are going to beat the John McDonagh Cup team, I just fancy Galway to get beat in the quarterfinals and lose in a provincial final. Just it hasn't quite clicked for Henry Shefflin. It hasn't quite clicked for Galway just yet, in my opinion. I wasn't entirely impressed with them in the league. I think they're caught between keeping a lot of the 2017 group around and also trying to integrate younger players. And I think for a long time we've looked at Galway as the side that are going to be the closest team to beating Limerick. We've all looked at Galway as a team that are going to kick on and really be one, win an All-Ireland or do something, and it just hasn't happened. It just hasn't happened, and more often than not they flatter to deceive. Happened under Shane O'Neill. I think Henry Shefflin, to be fair, I think he will come good with Galway eventually, but I just think there's other teams that are better than them. So yeah, underachievers, I go for Galway. And then game of the year, Limerick Clare, I guess, in a All-Ireland semi-final, if that is what happens. I mean, Limerick Tipperary is a Munster final. I mean, that would be an absolute cracker of a game as well, in fairness. Yeah, I'd probably go with that. It's game of the year is probably going to be involving Limerick, in fairness. Could be the All-Ireland final actually as well, which was the game of the year last year, wasn't it? So yeah, do you know what? We'll go with Limerick versus Clare. Whether they play each other in an All-Ireland semi-final, or possibly even more, remains to be seen. But we'll go with Limerick versus Clare as my game of the year. I said we'd predict the Christy Ring Cup just for the crack, even though I really don't know what's going to happen here, to be honest. I don't really know anything about any of these teams. So yeah, we've got Derry, London, Mayo, Meath, Sligo and Tyrone. Sligo have made a good bit of progression in the last couple of years in hurling, in fairness, and they might maybe cause a few shocks. But you look at Meath and Derry, I think, as the two sides there. Derry, I think, I suppose if they didn't have football, they'd be a Joe McDonagh Cup team, wouldn't they, with the Slot Neil lads? But yeah, I'd go with Meath, I think, to win that. I think they should be too strong. Mayo have shown a huge amount of progression in hurling in the last couple of years as well, and how cool would it actually be to see Mayo in the Joe McDonagh Cup, or even Sligo? But I'll go with Meath. They to be fair, they had been a Joe McDonagh Cup mainstay for quite a while. I remember them beating Kildare a couple of years ago as well. So I'll go with Meath. And in terms of the Nicky record, again, I genuinely haven't a clue. Donegal have looked alright, haven't they? They got to a couple of finals. Armagh, we'll go with Donegal. Why not? Donegal fans need something to cheer about, in fairness. And Laurie Mar, we have Cavan, Lancashire, Leitrim, Longford, Monaghan and Warwickshire. Cavan, just why not? But anyway, there are my predictions for the 2023 All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship and some of the lower tiers as well. Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. Let me know who you think will be Hurler of the Year, Young Hurler of the Year, underachievers, overachievers, or surprise package, as we should say, and Game of the Year. Let me know your predictions for some of the provinces as well. And yeah, plenty of content to be coming out over the next coming of weeks. We're going to start doing podcasts as well for hurling as well, previewing the games and the Leinster and Munster round robin, and much, much more. So if you enjoy this content, share it out to your friends and family. Let me know your predictions down below. I will be doing a predictions for the 2023 All-Ireland Ladies Football Championship. That should be out in the next week or so. And if you want to check out my football predictions, they have been out on the channel. So yeah, go and check that out if you get a chance. So yeah, my name's Aaron, and I will see you all soon.